In the bustling city of Rome, where the air was thick with the sounds of commerce, debate, and the clashing ambitions of powerful men, Gaius Julius Caesar was born into a world teetering between tradition and upheaval. Born on the 12th or 13th of July in 100 BCE, Caesar belonged to the ancient and prestigious Julian clan, a patrician family that traced its ancestry back to the mythic Aeneas, the Trojan hero and son of the goddess Venus. Yet despite this noble lineage, the Julian family was not particularly wealthy, and their influence had waned by the time Caesar was born. Rome was a republic, a complex system of governance where power was shared between the Senate, the magistrates, and the assemblies. The political landscape was a treacherous one, where the line between friend and foe was often blurred, and where the lure of power, wealth, and military glory could lead men to risk everything. Caesar grew up amid this environment, his early years shadowed by the social war, a brutal conflict between Rome and its Italian allies, who demanded greater rights and citizenship. This war would have a profound impact on Caesar, shaping his views on military power and the fragility of the Roman state. From a young age, Caesar was determined to make a mark on the world. He received an education befitting a young Roman noble, studying rhetoric, philosophy, and the art of war. His family's connections afforded him opportunities, but it was Caesar's charisma, intelligence, and ambition that set him apart. He quickly realized that to rise in Rome, one needed not only talent, but also powerful allies. At the age of 16, Caesar's life took a dramatic turn. His father died suddenly, leaving young Caesar as the head of the family. This new responsibility weighed heavily on him, but it also steeled his resolve. Around this time, he was nominated to become the High Priest of Jupiter, a prestigious position that would have placed him firmly within the religious and political elite of Rome. However, the political tides shifted, and Caesar found himself in a precarious situation. In 82 BCE, the dictator Sulla, a conservative and staunch opponent of the Populares, a political faction that supported the common people, seized control of Rome. Caesar, who was related to Marius, Sulla's great rival, and had married Cornelia, the daughter of a prominent supporter of Marius, found himself on the wrong side of the political divide. Sulla ordered Caesar to divorce Cornelia, but Caesar, in a bold and dangerous move, refused. This defiance could have cost him his life, but through the intercession of powerful relatives, Sulla reluctantly spared him, reportedly saying, "In this young man, there is many a Marius." With his life in danger, Caesar left Rome and embarked on a series of adventures that would shape his character and expand his horizons. He served in the military in Asia and Cilicia, where he proved himself a courageous and capable soldier. His time in the East also exposed him to the vastness of the Roman world and the complexities of governing such a diverse and sprawling empire. Caesar returned to Rome with a burning ambition to climb the political ladder. He began his political career as a prosecuting advocate, taking on high-profile cases that won him popular support. His eloquence, charm, and ability to sway the masses made him a rising star in Roman politics. In 69 BCE, Caesar was elected quaestor, the first rung on the cursus honorum, the sequence of public offices that an aspiring politician had to climb. As quaestor, Caesar was assigned to Hispania, a province on the western edge of the Roman world. In Hispania, Caesar demonstrated his administrative acumen and began to build a network of loyal supporters, but it was his military exploits that truly set him apart. In a daring campaign, he crushed a rebellious tribe in Lusitania, earning the respect of his soldiers and the admiration of Rome. This success planted the seeds of his future military glory and solidified his reputation as a formidable leader. Returning to Rome, Caesar continued to ascend the political ladder. He was elected aedile in 65 BCE, a position that allowed him to organize public games and festivals. Caesar seized this opportunity to win the favor of the Roman people, staging lavish spectacles that drained his personal finances but made him immensely popular. His charisma and generosity endeared him to the masses, and he became a champion of the populares, advocating for reforms that would benefit the common people. Caesar's rise was not without its challenges. The Roman political system was rife with corruption, and the Senate, dominated by the conservative Optimates, was wary of Caesar's growing influence. But Caesar was not one to be easily deterred. He formed alliances with two of Rome's most powerful men, Pompey the Great, a brilliant general, and Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome. Together, they formed the First Triumvirate in 60 BCE, an unofficial political alliance that allowed them to dominate Roman politics. With the support of Pompey and Crassus, Caesar secured the consulship in 59 BCE, the highest office in the Roman Republic. As consul, Caesar pushed through a series of reforms that challenged the power of the Senate and redistributed land to veterans and the poor. These reforms were met with fierce opposition, but Caesar's political acumen and the backing of the people ensured their passage. After his consulship, Caesar was appointed governor of Cisalpine Gaul, northern Italy, and Transalpine Gaul, southern France. This position gave him control of a large and strategically important territory, as well as command of a powerful army. But Caesar had grander ambitions. He saw the vast and untamed lands of Gaul as both a threat and an opportunity. By conquering Gaul, he could not only protect Rome's northern borders, but also gain wealth, glory, and a loyal army that would propel him to even greater heights. The Gallic Wars, which began in 58 BCE, would define Caesar's career and forever change the course of Roman history. Over the next 8 years, Caesar embarked on a series of military campaigns that were as brutal as they were brilliant. The tribes of Gaul were fierce warriors, and their land was difficult to conquer. But Caesar was a master strategist, using a combination of military force, diplomacy, and psychological warfare to subdue his enemies. Caesar's commentaries on the Gallic Wars, written in a clear and direct style, provide a detailed account of his campaigns. These writings were not just military reports, but also a form of propaganda designed to bolster his image in Rome. Caesar portrayed himself as a tireless defender of Rome, fighting to bring civilization to the barbarian lands of Gaul. His victories were celebrated in Rome, and his fame grew with each new conquest. The climax of the Gallic Wars came in 52 BCE at the Battle of Alesia, where Caesar faced Vercingetorix, a charismatic leader who had united the Gallic tribes in a last-ditch effort to resist Roman domination. The Siege of Alesia was one of the most remarkable military engagements of the ancient world. Caesar's army, outnumbered and surrounded, built a double line of fortifications, one to keep the besieged Gauls in, and another to protect against reinforcements from outside. After weeks of intense fighting, the Gauls were finally defeated, and Vercingetorix was captured. With the conquest of Gaul complete, Caesar returned to Rome as one of its most powerful and popular figures. But his success also made him many enemies. The Senate, and particularly Pompey, who had once been his ally, now saw Caesar as a threat to the Republic. The Senate, under Pompey's influence, ordered Caesar to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen. But Caesar knew that returning without his army would leave him vulnerable to prosecution and possibly death. In 49 BCE, Caesar made a fateful decision. Defying the Senate's orders, he led his legions across the Rubicon River, the boundary between his province and Italy. This act of insurrection was a declaration of war against the Senate and marked the beginning of the Roman Civil War. As he crossed the Rubicon, Caesar is said to have uttered the words, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. The civil war that followed was a chaotic and bloody struggle for control of the Roman world. Caesar's march on. Rome was swift and largely unopposed, as Pompey and the Senate, unprepared for Caesar's boldness, fled the city. Over the next few years, Caesar pursued his enemies across the Mediterranean, from Greece to Egypt to North Africa and Spain. One of the most decisive battles of the war took place at Pharsalus in 48 BCE, where Caesar's forces, though outnumbered, decisively defeated Pompey's army. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was assassinated on the orders of the young pharaoh Ptolemy III. When Caesar arrived in Egypt, he was presented with Pompey's severed head, a gift that he reportedly received with sadness. In Egypt, Caesar became embroiled in the dynastic struggle between Ptolemy III and his sister Cleopatra. Cleopatra, a shrewd and ambitious ruler, saw in Caesar an opportunity to reclaim her throne. Caesar, captivated by Cleopatra's intelligence and charm, supported her cause. The two became lovers, and together they secured Cleopatra's position as queen. Their relationship was as much political as it was personal, and it produced a son, Ptolemy Caesar, known as Caesarion. After securing Egypt, Caesar continued his campaign against the remnants of Pompey's forces and other rivals. He achieved a series of victories, most notably at the Battle of Thapsus in North Africa and the Battle of Munda in Spain. By 45 BCE, Caesar had crushed all opposition, and he returned to Rome as the unrivaled master of the Roman world. But even in victory, Caesar was not content to rest on his laurels. He embarked on a series of reforms aimed at strengthening and centralizing the government. He extended Roman citizenship to many people in the provinces, reformed the calendar, introducing what would become the Julian calendar, and initiated a number of public works projects to improve Rome's infrastructure. However, Caesar's concentration of power and his apparent disregard for the traditional republican institutions aroused deep resentment among the Roman elite. Many senators feared that Caesar intended to make himself king a title that was anathema to Roman values, as the Romans had prided themselves on having overthrown their monarchy centuries earlier. In this atmosphere of tension and mistrust, a conspiracy was hatched to assassinate Caesar. The conspirators included many of Caesar's former allies, such as Brutus and Cassius, who believed that by killing Caesar, they could restore the Republic. On the morning of March 15th, 44 BCE, known as the Ides of March, Caesar was lured to a meeting of the Senate in the theater of Pompey. As Caesar entered the Senate chamber, he was surrounded by the conspirators. At a signal, they drew their daggers and attacked him. Caesar tried to fight them off, but he was overwhelmed by their numbers. According to legend, when he saw Brutus among his attackers, he uttered the famous words, "Et tu, Brute, and you, Brutus," before succumbing to his wounds. Caesar's assassination sent shockwaves through Rome. The conspirators had hoped that his death would restore the Republic, but instead, it plunged Rome into another round of civil wars. Caesar's loyalists, led by Mark Antony and Octavian, Caesar's grandnephew and adopted son, waged a fierce campaign against the assassins and their supporters. In the end, it was Octavian who emerged victorious. He avenged Caesar's death and consolidated power, eventually becoming the first Roman emperor under the name Augustus. The republic that Caesar's assassins had sought to preserve was gone, replaced by the Roman Empire, a transformation that Caesar's actions had made inevitable. Julius Caesar's life was a story of extraordinary ambition, military genius, political maneuvering, and ultimately, tragic downfall. His rise to power reshaped the Roman world and set the stage for the end of the Republic. Though he was assassinated at the height of his power, his legacy endured. Caesar's name became synonymous with leadership and authority, and his life continues to be studied as one of the most remarkable in history. The story of Julius Caesar is not just a tale of one man's rise and fall, but a reflection of the broader struggles and transformations of the Roman world, where power was the ultimate prize and where the line between hero and tyrant was often blurred.